Welcome back to HiTech Farmer. Today we are doing what we call coring the bins. So the first thing we got to do is hook up to both of our wagons, get those ready, get the auger out. That way we can start coring. Now we got both the wagons hooked up to different tractors. That way we can unload one while the other one's filling. Now we got to go get our Batco auger or belt conveyor out of the shed that we'll use to unload the bins. Bringing the auger to the north row of bins. Since these bins can't be filled or unloaded through the leg, that's the reason we need the auger out right now to take a couple loads out of each of the bins. It's always a good idea to double check that the gate's down before we start filling the wagon. First turn on the auger. Auger's going. Now we'll start unloading out of the bin. If you're starting to wonder why we're 10 days post-harvest and now we're starting to take corn out of a bin and what this word is that I'm saying, coring bins, let me explain it to you. Because each one of our bins is filled from the center hole of the top of the bin roof, it creates a mound in the center of the bin under the spout, and then the grain slowly drifts to the sides of the bin. Some problems we've had in the past, given I'm just speaking about my experience in our farm, is with all that grain on grain contact in the center of the bin, it creates a lot of fines and residue in the core, what we call the core of the bin, and that can lead to issues. Here's just an example of some of the crushed up corn and fine residue that we're finding as we're starting to pull the core out of this bin. The problems we see when we don't core bins and take the fines out like we're doing right now is as the temperatures cool down for the winter and then warm back up for the summer, those fines are very prevalent to form like a mush inside the bins. Since those are sitting in the middle part of our bin, those clog the center sump and don't allow us to unload the bin any further until we get those mush pieces out of there. If you've ever had to go inside a bin to try to empty out the center sump, you know that it's not fun, and more importantly, it's dangerous. So yeah, we're spending a little bit of time today coring bins, which maybe you don't need to do, or maybe not everyone does, but in our eyes, it's saving us not only time, but it's also making things on our operation a lot safer for next summer. Coring the bins also gives me a chance to get a grain sample for an idea of what kind of moisture is inside these bins. That bin on that sample I just tested ran 15.3% moisture and a 46-degree temperature on the grain sample, which means I'm A-okay to shut off the bin fans because I don't want to dry that grain anymore, and it's at a moderate temperature where it's going to store nice over winter. I just got that wagon empty. Dad just got the other wagon full, so we got 2 bins down. We're only taking 1 wagon load out of each bin since these are fairly small bins. So we'll get the auger swung over to the next bin and start loading back on my wagon. This summer, when we moved around the bins over here, we put a new power sweep and unload in this bin. So this is gonna be the first time I'm making it work. And it don't go. It don't go! I forgot that we didn't have enough power at that bin, so we actually had to run it back to a different bin to get power. So the breaker's over here, so I'm gonna put that on, and hopefully this does the trick. Moment of truth. He's gonna hit the button. Should have corn coming out here in about 10, 5, 2 seconds. Nothing. Maybe there's something else at this breaker box that I forgot to turn on. So let's come back to see. Ah, simple. Bin 3 unload motor on. Dad turned the main off. I bet that's it. I'm putting a lot of faith on that this works now. Bingo! There we go. Things were going good. We were about half done coring this back row of bins. and I was watching the wagon fill, and then all of a sudden I see the auger stop, and I hear a bunch of the fans on the bin stop, and I realize we lost power. Oddly enough, the unload out of the bin kept running, but I was quick enough to jump over and hit the stop button. But it seems as if the auger may or may not be plugged, and hopefully this unload tube is not plugged, but we got to figure out how to get power back to the auger. My bet is that we blew a fuse somewhere, so it's time to start checking our fuses. Those ones look all good because the light lit up, so there's continuity there. Found the dead soldier, taking out that fuse right now. Have another one that we're gonna pop in, a good one. Hopefully that solves our electrical problem. We keep a good stock of fuses just for instances like this. That way we can minimize the downtime. Hopefully, no. Part of the problem's fixed, but obviously something else ain't right. We're back in business. We got the wagon filling again. We didn't really figure out what the problem is. We just ran an extension cord down here on the ground to a different breaker. That's not really a long-term fix since we'll have trucks coming through here next summer. So we're gonna chalk that up as another thing on our to-do list over the winter. This 27-foot bin we just had issues with. We're now done coring the center out of. Now we just have these two 30-footers left. And that's it, because the rest of the bins we can core very easily just by moving grain up and through the leg and putting it on top of another bin. We got the auger and wagon, everything set up for this bin, and I had the auger running for about 1 second, and then sure enough, boom, we lost power again. This looks to be the dead soldier for this problem.
What is it?
It's a 50. New fuse number 2 for the day. The little fuse we replaced out there didn't solve our problem, so now we're back in the dryer shack checking the fuses. Once again, same circuit breaker that we were in before, just a different fuse. It's the far left one this time, so we're gonna pop another new one in here. Well, we're back in business. It seems like between the small fuse on the side of the bin and the big one inside the dryer shack, there was something not right. We really shouldn't be blowing fuses like this. I'd say today alone I'm already $50 out of my pocket just in fuses. So hopefully the electrician shows up sometime today so we can get these problems fixed before going into next season. Just got this bin left. Moment of truth. Is this bin gonna work, or are we gonna blow some more fuses? So far, so good on this bin. Fingers crossed we don't blow any more fuses. That way we can get this job done. This here is what we like to see the inside of the bins look like after we get them cored out. Coned down, nice and decently level across. This grain will store very nicely until next summer's price rally. I just brought our last loaded wagon up to the grain pit. In a perfect world, I would have loved to bring this corn to town, but since there's a 50-cent premium per bushel for holding corn from right now over to next summer, it just makes more sense financially to put this corn in a bin since we have the storage. So I'm just gonna run it up through the leg and into a different bin. We're all done coring bins for the year. It's kind of an ungrateful job. You don't really realize how important it is until it's too late and you start to get big clumps that plug up your sumps in the bins. So I'm glad that that job's over. It took us significantly longer than it should have just because some of those electrical problems we had, but now we're gonna move on to the next thing. The next thing I gotta get done is get the dryer cleaned out. There's a fair amount of bees wings and some rotten corn that I wanna get cleaned out of here before winter. Here's a look inside the dryer before I started cleaning. And here's a look inside the dryer after I blew it all out. The reason we blow out the inside of the dryer is because since there's usually a little bit of corn that's still in here, that corn wants to take up just a little bit of water, and if it does take up that little bit of water, it'll either A, start to grow, or B, the seed will start to rot, and that'll eventually rot through the steel on the dryer. So to avoid having to replace the drag conveyor prematurely, we always clean out the dryer after the season when we use it. Well, it cleaned out a little more than what I thought when you come out here and look at the corn and clumps of residue that's left out under the dryer. The last thing we got to clean out is this bottom trap door on the bottom of the leg. And I know by experience that if you don't clean this out, you come back in the spring and there's usually a fair amount of rotten grain. So we're going to try to get this cleaned out tonight as well. Yummy! I'm never totally sure what to do with the dryer screenings and the little bit of rotten grain that I got out of the leg that I got put in this bucket right now, but let me show you guys what I do with it. We have this little 5-acre field down here where there's a fair amount of wildlife that run through the creek and the ponds, so I try to spread this stuff out into the field. That way if there's any animal looking for a nice snack or a meal, they can find it. Got the critters fed with that grain that I cleaned up today, and the electrician stopped by and he mentioned that we can't actually run the unloads at the same time that we have the bend fans on. So that's something I'll have to keep in the back of my mind moving forward. But that's gonna be it for today's video of HiTech Farmer. Thanks so much everyone for watching, and we'll see ya in the next one.